she wanted me to record it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, I wanted to introduce myself and I really wanted to make this interactive because I know people like watch webinars and it's just kind of like someone's talking at them, but I did want it to feel like a more communal thing and more like we're really helping each other out, and like just hearing your story is so amazing. So yeah, so we're gonna just get into that today. So for you and for people who signed on this, I want to say thank you so much. And my name is Fian O'Brien. So I am based in Saskatchewan in Canada. So we're like the central province of the whole country. And it's like I think us and the Northwest Territories, we get the real kind of winter cold. But right now it's starting to warm up, so we're getting into spring. But yeah, like for me, obviously from where I am, it's not like Toronto or Vancouver, so a lot of the interactions I do are online, in fact. And then I started a podcast, and I can get into that later. But my business, Okiki Consulting, is something I started because I'm really passionate about helping business owners and entrepreneurs tell their personal brand stories and their company brand stories, especially through content. And I love to help them with video content. So a lot of people feel uncomfortable with that, but definitely to help them with content in general. So like you said, you like to write blogs and you have other forms of content, and really helping them understand how they can convey that to the world, because I do think we all have amazing stories and engaging content to give. So yeah, I guess the roundtable is me and you for this live, but I just wanted to, yeah, I guess you could kind of introduce yourself and what you do, and maybe I know you've told me more of this beforehand, but like kind of your summaries of like why you're attending this webinar tonight, and what are your goals for LinkedIn this year?
Just a sec, give me a sec. Hello? Yes? Yes, so that time, can you call me, say, about 2 hours later? Yeah. Bye. Sorry.
No worries.
It's the phone. I don't know who that was.
No worries.
Hmm. Okay, sorry. Yep, keep going.
Yeah, so I guess if you don't mind, like just introducing yourself and just saying like which kind of space do you find yourself in? Are you in the entrepreneur sector or like the corporate sector? And I know you told me this a little bit before, but what kind of compelled you to join the webinar tonight, in a very summarized way, I guess? And what are some of your goals for LinkedIn this year?
Well, at the moment, I don't classify myself as corporate or anything because I'm still kind of finishing off my life coaching training. And
Mm-hmm.
I have coached a few people, friends and family mainly.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, all I have on the cards is I'm organizing a vision board workshop in about 3 weeks' time
Mm-hmm.
with the local people, and I hope, like you, I will get at least one person showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, my main reason for wanting to do this webinar is because I just wanted to get a bit more information on how to work LinkedIn properly. I do understand LinkedIn, but my understanding is very limited,
Mm.
and I need to upgrade and update my, not upgrade, update my LinkedIn profile properly.
Mhm. Mhm. So that's some of your goals, I guess, for LinkedIn this year, is to update
Yes,
it.
that are updated, and also how to post effectively so that what you post actually gets seen, and what are the different ways, channels, entry points, and so on.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. Yeah, that's kind of what I'll talk about in this webinar, just like some of the opportunities, the importance of profile optimization, how it fits into like really showing up on LinkedIn with your personal brand. And I'll talk a little bit about my story and how the personal branding looks like for both now, because you're finishing life coaching, um, I guess you're gonna kind of end up in the entrepreneur space. So we'll probably put more emphasis on that. And what I'm gonna do is do a walkthrough of my LinkedIn profile so you can kind of see different pieces I've added, and really how to use that strategy for entrepreneurs. And then we'll kind of have time for Q&A too. So in between as well, I'm gonna also give time for you kind of like brainstorm and take notes, because I do want this to be something like where you've gotten some value and some brainstorming time out of this session today. So yeah, so just quick overview of like the opportunities on here. There's 80% of job recruiters use LinkedIn for hiring, 87, yeah, and 44% of the people on LinkedIn actually have incomes over 75,000, and 50% of B2B decision makers make their purchase decisions through here. So if you're B2B, this is definitely an important platform for you to be on. And finally, this is actually my favorite. Only 1% of all users create content. And right now, we just have an amazing opportunity. I'm thinking maybe we have like 5 years to really see that gap get closed. But right now is a really good opportunity for professionals to post content. So you talked about profile optimization, and you obviously know why it's important. So yeah, we use the profile optimization to really show ourselves and to really show, it's like that first handshake with the people that we want to work with. So and this is part of a blueprint that I kind of put together of how to really show up with LinkedIn with your personal brand. So as you were saying, you really want to represent you well, and that you have content that people actually connect with. So in that process, we start with our profile optimization, and then we work on making strategic connections. So for people watching the video, like the magic number for LinkedIn is 200 connections if you want people to really start seeing your content, because that's when you become an all-star, and that's when they really kind of push your content out. So making strategic connections, joining strategic groups, and then from there, when you've gotten to that a good number, creating regular content and being able to leverage those connections. So that's kind of the process that I help people go through with LinkedIn. So my personal story is that I actually didn't start taking LinkedIn very seriously until September 2019. I had started consuming the content on there because I was looking for something that was more, around business development and personal development. So I wanted something a little different than what I've been experiencing, I guess, for me personally on Facebook and Instagram. And that was kind of more my background with my business and marketing anyways. I was doing Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and I just wanted something different. So after consuming that content in September, I thought I'm going to go all in. And after hearing a few podcasts about how little content is actually posted on there, I did. And so from September till now, I've made 7,000 connections. And through posting continual content, especially video content, I was able to book clients through that. And I also started a podcast in September. So I was able to find some amazing podcast guests through the platform as well. And so some of them were very shocking to me. I've gotten to interview Olympians. I got to interview a girl who now signed, and she's, the highest paid female football player of all time. I've gotten to interview people who are like major influencers in their space, like some of these new apps coming up like TikTok. So it was really cool. All through LinkedIn, I was able to make some very profound connections for that. So there's just a lot of opportunities on the platform. And that's why I feel so passionate about it and passionate about sharing with it. It's like the one place you'll see so many experts, so many people who really study what they do and are so passionate about it, but not all of them actually share that passion and that message and that vision with the world. And that's what I really want to see. So I believe that personal profile optimization actually expresses your personal brand. So like for you, Yvonne, you're really interested in writing blogs about the Red Sea and different aspects like that, that is an amazing opportunity. And I can't think of a lot of people who are doing that on the platform, so you would certainly stick out. So yeah, so to compare like the two, I guess if you're in a corporate space, for those who may be watching who are coming from there, you really want your profile to represent what you do and who you are, what you do, what you hope to do in the future, and why you're qualified to do it. And that kind of signals those HR directors, right? That this is someone that we could hire, this is someone who has vision, what can they add to our organization? So that is how you can stick out in the corporate sector. So yeah, and when you think of connections, really think of making connections with people in your industry, and think about roles like HR is an obvious one if you want to be notified and seen for your talent. And then just whoever is necessary context in that organization who could really cue into what you have to offer and give you that opportunity in that role. And now for entrepreneurs, this is actually the area I'm going to focus on in this webinar. And you really want to talk about in your profile, like the transformation process that you will take the client on, and what services you offer and why you're qualified to do it. And there's different components of your profiles that we'll get into, but this is really what you want your clients to understand when they encounter that. So for entrepreneurs, it's really important to find your niche and then think about the client avatar. Then we think about the headline. And another thing I should include in there is the cover photo in the back, because that's something you can use as well. Then we look at our about sections. And actually, there's a new section called the features section, which I think has an amazing opportunity as well in terms of really showing what you have to offer. So I don't, yes. So any questions up to that point?
Yeah, you talked about connections, having at least 200 connections. How do you make those connections, and who would you aim for?
Okay, yeah. So I think that ties right into what I'm actually about to talk about. So first I'll talk about who you'll aim for, and then when we go through my profile, I can actually directly show how you'd make those connections. So who you'd aim for is based on your client avatar. And so that's basically your dream customer, your perfect customer, who you want to work with, who you want to serve. And so you can break this down in so many ways. So you can start with demographics. We know the basics around demographics, age, sex, education, income, occupation. From there, go into psychographics, like what do they value? What are their attitudes? What are their interests? What are their lifestyle? And then this one I added with LinkedIn, because you can actually combine that with also the role, what's the job title, what are the topics that they'd be interested in. And so those are the ways that you can kind of begin to figure out, because you also, when you're making your client avatar, you have those demographics, right? You have those psychographics, and then you have to also think of like what's the industry that you're niching down to. So you really want to think about that, and who are those contacts, who are those connections that you want to make, because on LinkedIn you can be so specific with roles and manager levels, and so that is something that you want to keep in mind. And I apologize, the slides keep starting on and off here. So the first bit I want to focus on is the headline. So my headline says, I empower entrepreneurs to communicate their personal brand stories through video. So that's like the basic premise of what my headline says. So I like to think of it as, you say, I, the verb, the client avatar, and it can be way more specific and niche down than that. But this is definitely an example. Verb, outcome, or service that you offer them. So really thinking of when you're making those connections, what is signaling to that connection, oh, this is someone that can actually serve or help me. And then you have your cover photo. And I like people to think of this as their personal brand banner ad. So this is real estate that LinkedIn gives you that you can actually use, because you can upload a photo in there that has so much. It can have your logo, branding, a call to action. It could also include the headline message or keywords that you think would really stick out to that client avatar and make them interested in the rest of the profile and the rest of the information about you in order to connect and contact you. So um, I'm gonna, because it's us two, I'm gonna ask, would you like to go through my profile before going through these exercises that I have planned?
Oh, yes, please. That would be nice.
Okay, because I realize I could give you this, but it might make more sense if we actually go through it. So I am gonna do a new share and go through the profile. So this is, yeah,
So this is your page.
yes. So this is my profile, and now I can show exactly what I was discussing in those slides. So here, it's every little piece matters. First of all, you do want a good profile picture, like a professional picture.
Mm.
So it just has to represent your personal brand. And there's so many like, yeah, as long as it doesn't look like a selfie, essentially, that's the most important thing. So some people, like for me, this is me because I like to smile. I like people. I like bright colors, right? Not everyone may like that for a picture. And that's totally fine, as long as the photo represents you like very well and very accurately, and it doesn't look like a selfie photo. It'll translate well. I can also find an example of someone who has a pretty good photo, but very different like look and brand than me, right? And so this is someone who, a business owner who I know, and this pretty much shows his personality very well, but it doesn't look like a selfie. And so I think anyone who encounters him and sees his picture would understand that's who he is. And so, yeah, just to keep in mind, it's really supposed to represent your personal brand. It is nice when it's very well lit and shows your personality very, very well. That's more important to me than a specific type of photo, whether you're wearing a suit or not. That's something to think about. But again, think about it in mind of that client avatar and who you're trying to attract, and also the industry you're in. Different industries might have very different expectations, of course. And then as you can see, this background cover photo, that's what I was referring to before. That's like your banner ad. So here you see my logo, you see I have my website in there, my email, and I have information about what I do. So again, some people will have, oh, buy my book on Amazon, or contact me for this, or open for collaboration. So really use this cover photo to really express yourself, your interests. Maybe yours could have something with you and a picture of the Jordan, or walking through Jordan or something. You know, just anything that really explains what you're about is super important. And then from there we go into the name. And so I like to really explain this part to people because you can actually put a lot of information in there. So for example, like I put my first name and last name in the first name section to give me more room, because the headline actually only has 120 characters. And let's say there's a lot of information you're trying to say to explain who you are, you might need more room. And so putting CEO in that may not be worth it in your headline, but you can put that in your name section. So if you can see here on the screen, I put my first name and my last name in my first name section, and I put my title in my last name section, so that I would have more room in the headline space to actually say what I do and the transformation process and the service I believe that I offer my clients. So that's something to think about as well. And if you can see that that to edit that, you just have to click this little pencil in the corner here, and then you're able to do that. Another thing before I keep going along this profile is that if you want to add sections to your profile, so mine has quite a few of these sections added. This is where you do it. So, having an about section is good. Lets people know, and it allows you to put way more information about you and your services. And then this is a new one. It's called featured. And this is actually used to be the media section in the about section, but now they've made it its own thing. So I'm going to talk about that too. But it's also really great to add that if you have publications, if you've been featured on interviews, different things, to kind of really make your profile more robust and more attractive to those who are coming there to see what you have to offer. You could put lots of background information. You could put your skills, accomplishments, any patents you have. And so this is a way to add profile sections that you may not have. So if your profile is pretty plain right now, some people don't even have any pieces. That's where you'd add that on so you can actually elaborate on it. So from there, I like to expand on those key ideas that we talked. Once from what services and why to do it. And I believe in the about section, that's where you can really elaborate. Though the character limit is much longer here. I don't even know what it is. Some people have super long about sections, much longer than mine. Some people make it short, but I've used it to really talk about why I got passionate about doing this for entrepreneurs, showing the services I offer, and then putting my contact information at the end. So those are information that you can put in your about section. So the first thing they'll see is your profile, they'll see your picture, they'll see the cover photo, they'll see your headline. Once you've got them reeled in, they'll check your about section, and through that, they could contact you. So it's really important to put all that information in there so they can really get an idea of who you are and what you have to offer. This new section here is called the features section. So this feature section actually just used to be a media section in the about section, but it's the same idea, but it's now more highlighted. So what it is that if you have any media pieces or things that you've been part of, like here I have any links rather too. So here I have a link for my website. I have a link for like a course that I'm doing a wait list for. I have a link for a podcast interview I did, and a talk I did in person, and a video I made about how to create events on LinkedIn because they now have an event feature, for example. And so you can use this to really showcase and highlight different things about you and your brand. If you have blog posts, if you've gotten your work contributed to different articles, publications, all you have to do is press this pencil and simply just add a link, you know? So, oh, sorry, not the pencil, the plus sign. And then you can add a link. So it could be content that you've posted on LinkedIn, articles that you've been part of, the link, or it could be direct photos and documents, presentations, videos. So if you have lots of work in a lot of different places that really encapsulate your brand and who you are, this is a really cool place to put it as well. And it's very interactive. I'm really glad they have this because it's kind of like having your own playlist on your profile. And I think this is going to be a really exciting addition. So from there, you can see the activities, your activity on LinkedIn. Here's another section where you can add experience. So for me, I have Okiki Consulting, which is my company. I have the different things I do. So I have different titles. So that's a cool thing. Like if you add an experience, if you have multiple roles within that experience. So for example, I do video content creation on LinkedIn, and I help with video content strategy, but I also help people with profile optimization. And I'm also the CEO of this company. So you can put all of that under that title. And you can also, like the feature section, you can add media that correlates that. So I'm saying I'm a video content creator. I want to show people the media, the videos that I've made in relation to that. So this is where you just press a pencil And if you want to add media, you could either upload it directly or you can add a link, and then people can see the work that you've done. Uh, Furthermore, I have the past work I've done. So for some of you who are in corporate, if you want to show what you did with a company, here was my work as a communications assistant with an egg bioscience company, and I helped them make a video series. So I actually linked the video series, the different videos I did within that role, so that people could really see. So if for those of you who are corporate who might be watching the playback, this highlights you to those HR directors as well in terms of your skills. Same thing, we have, of course, the education section, licenses and certificates. This is really cool. There's LinkedIn Learning, but if you get certificates or licenses from anywhere else, you can simply add that to here. And again, like for example, for you, Yvonne, you're finishing this coaching. This would be a great place to actually add that you've completed that course. And so you can add that qualification on here. Again, building that trust factor with your audience. This part is very neat as well. You can add skills and endorsements. So you can add different skills that you believe you have. I have added a lot of skills in different areas of my interest, including tools and technologies, because these are areas that I find interesting. But the cool part and kind of the funny part is that people can actually endorse you too. And so people have endorsed me a lot in these top 3 skills. And so that's kind of neat. It's people in your network can say, oh, I think you're actually good at this as well. And this is further, I guess, increased with the recommendation section. I think this is actually a really good section that can also be focused on. So I guess if you were to ask me what are some really important sections, your top part, your summary, you could talk about, and then I'd say recommendations, because here's where if you've worked with anyone, they can make recommendations for you on your behalf. And then it goes directly to your profile. And these are really good for when you want to make, your own webinars and workshops, you can use these client testimonials. So the easy way to do this is you press the pencil and, oh, did I do this? Yeah, sorry. You press ask for a recommendation, and then you ask someone you know, and then they want to ask in what context did you work with that person. So I could say this lady was a client of mine, and then they want to know based on your education section and your experience section rather, which role were you in when you worked with them and what capacity. You can actually pick the very specific role, and then they give you opportunity to, and you can customize this. Oh, would you write me a recommendation? You send it, and when they write it for you, once you accept it, it publishes right to your profile. So that's something that I find very, very neat and interesting. And so to answer your question, for me, because I like to work with entrepreneurs, for example, if I was to make a connection, I would simply, this is for, I'll probably be more specific than this, but this is for the webinar. So for example, if I type in that already, these are the results that come up. And if I want to make a connection, I can just kind of look through, okay, this seems cool. I'm gonna go send a request to David Seeley. Now, when you do that request, you can also add a note. So if that is someone like, especially once you niche down and you know specifically who you're trying to reach, you can actually make specific kind of notes and requests to that person that you think might get their attention. For example, there's a podcaster I follow, so I sent him a note just saying how much I liked his podcast and how I couldn't believe he posts 5 podcasts a week. So then he ended up connecting with me. So that was a more personalized message. So that's kind of the start of how you can connect with people. And that's something I'll probably go into in another webinar, but that's at least gives you the idea, the basic idea of how the profile works. So I'm just going to switch back now. And what I'm going to do is go back to this exercise based on all of that, because I know that was a lot of information. But for you, if you could start with just that transformation process and what you really believe you can give your clients. So I just want to give you a few minutes to just think about what would you be able to give your clients. What is like the one message that you'd want them to understand from connecting with you right off the bat? And obviously, what you come up with tonight can obviously be elaborated on and refined, but I just want to get you thinking about it. So I'm just going to give you a few minutes and maybe we'll play some music here and let you kind of brainstorm, start to put together what is the message that you'd want them to know about the transformation process for just that headline when they're making connections with you on the profile. If that works for you. I'm just trying to find some tunes. And you can let me know what it's done to if you're done early. All right. So, Yvonne,
Yeah.
um, were you able to kind of come up with something, or do you feel like you need a little more time?
Sort of. I mean, this is what I really want to work with. To empower people to reach their full potential and connect with their inner being.
Inner being. And okay, yes. And so with people, and I know this is hard to do in 5 minutes, obviously, but could you think of someone even more specific on the platform that you
Right.
would be hoping to reach that you're
Um,
like, I know they're like the most ready for it? Because I know obviously as a coach, you want to help everyone and you're open to everyone because that's just your passion, that's your motivation. You just want to see people grow and find themselves. Who do you think would be the most ready to kind of step into what you have to offer, um,
when
even based on your experiences, maybe?
I would say, I mean, based on my experience, women, it will be mainly working with women,
Hmm.
with with women who are in transition, job transitions or occupation transitions.
Yeah,
Yeah. Also
that's really
people,
good.
and also women who want to work on their relationships.
Hmm. That's really cool. So that's already like way more specific and way more interesting. and and so if it's I'm empowering female entrepreneurs or female professionals who are uh in transition and want to develop relationships to find themselves or something, like a rough summary like that. Um, that's already like way more specific. And if your headline has that as you're connecting with, and that actually would guide who you connect with too. Um, as you're connecting with these female professionals, that would resonate with them if that's where they're at, and go, oh, she can help me. You know,
Mm.
if they're in transition in their jobs and they're seeing that headline and they're kind of like, oh, I need some help, I need some clarity on this, and they see that headline, they're like, maybe I should just get a discovery call with her and just see what that would actually be like, and see if she might get me right now. So I think that's why this exercise is so important, because as you're making connections with people, that is the first thing they see, is that profile and that headline. And so just
Yeah.
making sure it's very intentional so that you're not missing on those people who could really use your help and that opportunity. And similar, I'm going to give you another couple minutes. And this is kind of funny because I know, and if you are an artist, you might find this so easy. And I know I don't expect everyone, even people watching the playback, like you may not be the graphic designer of your team, but this is more about just conceptualization. And if you can sketch on like a notebook, like what would be the way you would design your background photo? And what are the call to action? What are some of the messages you want inside? Would you put a photo of yourself? What type of photo would you put of yourself, in thinking about um, that client that you really want to work with, and what kind of image would be there so that you can really communicate that message that you just said with the headline. And so just kind of like sketching, drawing, just thinking about what are some of the components that you want to include in that background photo to really make yourself visible and have some way to have call to actions to really reach out to that target audience. So yeah, I'm just gonna play some music and let you think about it, and maybe you could just give me a heads up when you're done. We'll do like another 5 minutes or something, and because you do know that, you told me you do know that target that you're looking for. So what are some of the messages, the images, the words that would really speak to them?
Wow, this is nice. What do you reckon, Dean? Um, I'm thinking of a mountain top of the of a. I can't make up my mind about whether it should be a silhouette or a real proper photo of mountain top of the,
Mhm.
with arms outstretched, um, like I made it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
because I was thinking more in terms of when you're trying. It is hard when you are moved, you transit. You don't know when,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of doubt and mostly all negative, and when you can reach up to the mountain, it's just
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
amazing. It was either that I was tossing between that or a clear sky with an eagle uh, in the sky.
Hmm. Hmm. Very cool. Yeah.
Hmm. What do you think? Where would you gravitate more?
So you had the ego and you had the arm stretched out like I made it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that I think I would resonate with the arm stretched out, but yeah, I think also keeping in mind too, and that's why the nice thing about this exercise is something you can keep thinking about, but in line of what's the branding you already have for your company, like if there are egos that are part of that message already, then you may want to have something said in words
Hmm.
that could convey that I made it. If
Yeah.
not, I know I get what you're saying because maybe seeing like a lady who's like made it on top of the mountain and she's like excited and like relieved that she got there. That's kind of like mentally where they're trying to get to. So that's a really cool image in itself. And then having the messages and the words around that, the
So
call
would
to
you
action.
would you recommend using words or just leave it with the image?
I would recommend a mix of both just because you have the opportunity. It's really cool because it can be like your own personal, like organic banner ad. So it doesn't have to have a lot of words. It doesn't have to be like full and crowded, but maybe a few keywords that kind of speak about
Something,
what you're trying
something
to
like, yeah. So could it be something
convey.
like dream, believe, do, something like that?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And then maybe a call to action, like, you know, like ready to start your dream, and then has just like a way for them to connect with you. So whether it's a website or um, a website link or email link that's actually part of the image because you
Yeah.
do have a lot of room to use. Um,
Okay.
you
So
know,
how would you actually, so what, you convert the image into a link? Is that what you're saying?
uh, you can, I guess I should clarify, they can't click it, but that it shows them where to find you.
Oh,
So like in my picture, I have like my website link and my email link written out so that
yeah.
as they come across it, they're like, okay, I can reach this person at this. So
They follow.
maybe, yeah, maybe it could say, yeah, something like your dream doesn't have to end uh, just because a phase of your career has ended or something like that. And just messages that would really connect with that target audience that you have. And then that
Mm,
image is a very strong image. And the reason I said to add the words too is so that they like fully understand the connection. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot of words, but just something very strong and resonant. Obviously, your headline will really clarify what you have to offer, and then in your about section, you can really elaborate on what you have to offer, the coaching services, why you're passionate about what you do. And so, yeah, so I hope that those two exercises were somewhat helpful
mm,
um, in you just beginning to start your process. So yeah, I just want to hear from you. What's kind of been your interpretation of the information so far? And are you feeling like you have a little more ideas of how to really craft this profile for yourself?
Oh yes, I mean, you kind of got me excited when I saw that you won't believe this. My son's been after me saying, "Mom, you really have to make videos and put it out there, even if it's one video a month, but you've got to do it." And I'm so nervous, and I'm saying, "Luke, I can't do it, Luke. I can't do it. I don't have the know-how." And he said, "I'll help you. We'll set up this room as a studio room, and all you have to do is you've got to get the camera and blah blah blah." But I wouldn't have a clue where to go looking for.
Yeah, and if he's willing to help you, I totally encourage you to do it. Um, and
And
that
yeah,
again,
I saw your video links, and I thought, "Oh my God, that's awesome." Yeah. So
thank you.
how long does it take you to create a video? A video?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the video. The video that you would have seen, I was trying to put a lot of information in there because I found, like you, I was running into a lot of people who are either on the platform and didn't really know how to use it, or are totally new to it and are just kind of confused by the whole thing.
Right.
So I just wanted to make a video that really summarized how it works. So it was like a 7-minute video. So I wanted to say that video because I put a lot of different pieces. You probably saw I was switching camera in and out to different things.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to say it took like, that one probably took like 2 hours, and it's a 7-minute video. Whereas the average video you post on LinkedIn would be like a minute to
Oh,
two
really?
minutes, not 7 minutes. So I was very surprised that video did well because it's longer than usual, but I think it's because I was giving a lot of information and people were like, oh, this was really helpful, kind of thing. Um, to add to what you're saying, if you have a good iPhone or smartphone, a
Yeah.
lot of people do face videos as well. So as long as the information is really good, and that's something too, I want to do an upcoming webinar on content creation, but as long as it's valuable information and you're making sure you're using the titles, that's when people can really engage with the content. It doesn't have to be these high level videos. People really care more about quality at the end of the day. There's some people who just make cell phone videos all day long, and that's like the video they post once or twice a week on LinkedIn, and they do super well. So it's really, at the end of the day, how people are connecting with the content and whether you're connecting with the right people to receive the content. So yeah, no, I'm so glad you're interested in video. I'll actually be the first to admit, when I was getting into posting content for LinkedIn, I that was the only platform that I was actually nervous to post video. I love creating video, and I've done it on YouTube and different platforms, but for some reason LinkedIn really intimidated me. But like the moment I did, the feedback was so good and people felt like they were really getting helped. And so that's what really made me think, okay, I can do this on here too, because you're the expert in your field. And I think for me, it was like, oh, there's so many smart people on this platform. But I realized that there's some area that you're strong in that someone else didn't know, and vice versa. And this is a way to help each other out and to add value and to really show who you are. And like I said, I got the clients through the videos because they saw my personality through there, and they felt like I was someone they could work with. And so that was cool because video is actually a way to like get people to know you before they actually know you. And I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Mm. That's right.
Yeah.
So when you do these videos, it's more like doing a selfie, isn't it?
Yeah.
And hmm,
Yeah, it's
how,
more like you. And that's another thing about LinkedIn that's a little unique. I know people do this on YouTube. Like sometimes they'll just talk to the camera and give information because YouTube, similarly, people are looking to learn. So they treat it like Google search bar. But YouTube will have a mix of like the active footage, right? Or people doing different things. Or Facebook, for example. But for some reason, LinkedIn, I think because of the nature of the professionals on there, people are really, and that's the cool thing, people are really anxious to learn on that platform. So I think that's why they're good with the talking head. Whereas like maybe on the average platform, like I've tried to repurpose LinkedIn videos for Instagram, for example, and people kind of find it a little boring because it's just different. So you kind of have to change your methods a little bit depending on the platform. But I find LinkedIn people actually do like watch a 7-minute video on what I had to say about LinkedIn and don't mind it because they're really on there to learn. So that's why I feel like if you're passionate about anything and you really do know something well, if you're willing to post it, like someone's going to be so thankful that you did that because in your target audience, because you're just again building them up in their area. So like for you, like that'd be so cool if you connected with female entrepreneurs and really started talking about like those factors that you brought up of like, like, I understand it's tough to transition because it is. And just talking about that, you'd be surprised how many people would engage with that content. So
Mm. And so what your recommendation is to keep the videos no more than 1 to 2 minutes.
yeah, unless you start building a following that they're actually paying attention to such long videos. Uh, I don't have a lot of videos that are that long, but I think the nature again of that one, I think the reason why it worked is because of what I was talking about. I think if it wasn't that type of video, like I've had videos of me like, walking outside or just skating and talking about how fitness or mental health is, well, actually my write-up on mental health did well too, but like fitness, for example, going outside is good for entrepreneurs, and those ones couldn't be longer than that because no one would tune in. But
Yeah.
I think because it was actual like practical value, people really enjoyed that one.
Mm. And then would you then link these videos to other platforms or you just leave it on LinkedIn?
Yeah, you could definitely. I've linked them in emails before. I've linked
Yeah.
it to other platforms. So yeah, for sure.
So would you recommend it's okay to link to things like Facebook or Insta?
Yeah, if you can. I'm just trying to think for Instagram. Instagram may not do a live preview like the way like Facebook would.
Yeah.
So it won't. I don't know if it'll just. I don't think it'll just show the video just because you put the link like that.
Oh, right. Okay.
Whereas Facebook, I'm pretty sure they could do that. But yeah, so just to watch for like those finicky things.
Those are the things, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you talked about courses, and
Yes,
did you do courses through LinkedIn?
I'm hoping to um start a course, and actually oh yeah, there's another part too that I was talking about. Yeah, I'm hoping to start a course. I'm sorry, actually, just to bring up the content. Another thing you can do too, and I'll have in the recording too, is also that feature section. If you have different blog posts or media or interviews that you've done, or those videos that you're hoping to post, that
Mm.
feature section on your profile, you can actually link those on there. So again, it really beeps up your profile and shows what you are about. So I recommend having like 3 to 5 pieces of content on there um, to really support your profile.
So
And
you
yeah,
mean, to say like 3 to 5 pieces of content, what you've already posted in the past?
yeah, so I can show it actually. What I'll do is oh, okay, perfect. So like here, as you can see my feature section, you can link so yeah, I was linking my website and the wait list for the course I'm hoping to start, which is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Um specifically just because I just felt like there's so much need for it. But you can also post other features that you've done. So this was me interviewing a lady who used to be Miss Singapore. um, for my podcast. And this is me doing a presentation on LinkedIn in my city. And this is me talking about a feature on LinkedIn that a lot of people didn't know existed, which is to make events. And so a lot of people, I think that video got like 1,000 views because a lot of people found it helpful, even though I've been using that feature on LinkedIn since January. A lot of people didn't know it existed. So that's something I put there because people needed it, and I thought, okay, if they can check my profile, they can see this video. So yeah, so for the feature section, that's definitely something I recommend. And yeah, so that's that part. So yeah, sorry, back to the Q&A. You were talking about if I have a course. I'm trying to do a waiting list for one. Yeah, and also for you, did you feel like this gave you some more ideas too of like what kind of content to put in your profile?
Well, a little bit, but I think I need to do a little more soul searching to kind of narrow it down a bit more so that it's more specific. Um, yes. And yeah, I was intrigued in your when when you showed me your LinkedIn profile before. I'm sure I saw in the you did some LinkedIn courses, isn't it? Some
Uh,
courses for LinkedIn.
I did some webinars and I'm starting a course. So I guess if that's something you're interested in, I can talk about that. I have a few slides on that, like if you wanted to work with me. Um, and then that course actually, I'm hoping to launch it in, I'm gonna say May, just because I have a family trip coming up. But it's basically gonna go over the different parts of LinkedIn. So for anyone watching this who might be interested in it, it's gonna go over the profile optimization, and
Mm.
I'm gonna have like kind of templates and more brainstorm ideas to really help with that part. And then there'll be a section on then the strategic connections. And then there's a section on strategic groups. And then there's a section on content creation.
Mm.
And so the course is more DIY. It's more like a video and slides, but lots of templates. So I guess to go along with what you're asking for, Yvonne, and yeah, these are just some people who did like this workshop with me, who had some help, who really felt like it benefited them. So for people watching the recording, um, yeah, if this is Lisa. She said she was able to get a client within a week of updating her profile. So updating your profile does make a big difference. I believe she already had the talent there. She does video, but it just wasn't showing on her profile. Um,
Yeah.
and then I have, yeah, and then this lady too. She does copywriting for people. So again, it's just to sit down and like really help her communicate her message. So to work with me, and I'm just going to move this to the side here. So to work with me, I do a few things. So what Yvonne's asking, I have a course which is more of like a DIY thing.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping to launch in May. I'm thinking it'll be around 697, but I'm also gonna give five payment, yeah, like 5 times payment plan with it. So you could divide that into five and pay that over 5 installments as well. And it's basically gonna have what I have right here on this slide, but it's more of a DIY situation. You're doing it at your own pace. You're kind of just taking that time to brainstorm by yourself. If that is something that's of interest to you, I can send you the link to sign up for that waitlist for that. And if you want to work with me directly, and if you felt like this was actually really helpful, and you want to do these sessions in real life, um, that's what we would just do the same thing as I do in that course, but we'd be working together. And so that's what this offer is. So I had 6 hours on there, but it's really gonna probably be like between like maybe like 8 sessions really. And it's just we're gonna meet up Each session might be 1 to 2 hours. And we're going to talk about each of these sections and really make it customized to you. So that's what this one is for 1500. If you are in the situation and this is for the playback where you need someone to do this for you, I'm willing to do that for you and make posts on your behalf and different things for this amount. And if you want to do a follow-up webinars with me, like a premium webinar where it's I'm willing to do a follow-up webinar on kind of the topics I discussed today, but the next couple will be on strategizing for your connections and the message strategy and the brand guidelines and just how to come up with 30 days worth of content. So if that's of interest to you, I have that as well.